By the way, I'm Arjay Elbore. I'm a front-end developer. So I'm front-end developer in a bank. Working in a bank. Basically, aside from my day job, I do open source also. So you can see below the GitHub open source with my friends. So it's inspired by Angular and Stencil. So this is the one. So it's I can create a custom element using the same syntax with the Angular and Stencil. So there's a tag and template and style for that. So you can check if you want. And this is my Twitter handler, virtual override, and my GitHub also. So uh, as a front-end developer, we work every day in our everyday day. A lot of frameworks. We work build tools. We work some other frameworks and libraries like Vue, React, Angular, and Stencil, and other frameworks. So when I see this problem is when I search in npm, like date picker, I see 1,652 date picker. So see, right? How do you choose this 1,652 date pickers? So your your purpose is you want to share this date picker to other teams so that they can reuse it. So luckily, we have a standard that the browser or WTC provided to us, which is web components. So this is a set of standards. So by the way, who knows web components here? Nice, good, nice. So web components is a set of a platform APIs that allows you to create custom, reusable, encapsulated tags. So basically, it can be used with any JavaScript library or framework. So web components can be reused to any framework or library like Vue or React. That's the concept of web components. So web components as a specs. So there are 4 specs in web components, which is custom elements, HTML templates, AS modules, and Shadow DOM. So I will talk briefly about that. So first is a HTML template. So HTML template is you can define your template as template, and it will sit inside on your browser. It will not render it until you invoke a script. Like for example, it used to declare fragments HTML that can be cloned, inserted, and document or script. So when you try to use this, you can use JavaScript for that. ES modules. This is the new features of web components, which is ES modules. Does anyone see this or have it uses? Good, nice. So you can see this. There's a type as a module because since we're using export import, we can now use this in our browser. So you can see on line 7 to 14 that I will use a Lodash, which is the SAM, and then import SAM from the URL. So, and then I can take a SAM function and then add it in console log. So this is already defined in our browser. Next is Shadow DOM. Shadow DOM is defines how you encapsulate style and markup in web components. As you can see that, right? I have the shadow root. So inside your component, there's another DOM, which is we call it a shadow DOM. So it will prevent others to overwrite any functionalities. So for example, here I have a style P. I will color it to red. So you can notice that inside my web components, it will not affect. So basically, it's just will not bleed in and bleed out. So also, if you have a color on the inside the component, it will not bleed out. So if you have say that your P is color blue inside the web component, it will not bleed out for that. So lastly is the custom elements. So custom elements is provide you authors to build their own fully featured DOM elements. So as you can see is there's a hello world and name, and then there's a name prop attribute, and then you can do that. So this is one of the example. So as you can see is we'll create a class hello name and extend HTML element. So HTML elements is a built-in function in the or class or base class in the browser. So you can define also on the line 33, you can define your custom elements using that. So custom elements that define and then your name. So your name should be separated by dash so that it will not collide with built-in custom element. Next is I will declare static observe attributes. Static observe attributes is the way the author will expose their own properties, attributes to the developers who use it. And then if the properties attributes will change it, it will invoke this lifecycle. So attribute callback change. So I'll use it as if my new value is not equal to all value, I will re-render my page. So since I'm using render, I have this render. So this inner HTML equals to hello, and then this name. So this name is the property I'll discuss later. So next is the connected callback. Connected callback is the life cycle. That's when your custom element will append to the DOM. It will execute this. So for example, if your custom elements, like for example, you have a document that append your custom element, it will invoke this, it will re-render your page. So we have also properties. So properties, we can declare it, get and setter. So in ES6 plus, so you can use this. So in our getter, I have this just a reflection. So when I use this name inside my component, I will get the attribute of the custom element. So there's a default value. Also, when I set my property, it will set the attribute and then re-render it. So if I set the attribute, like for example, it will call the attribute callback change, and then if you want to set your properties, it will execute the set name, and then since the set attribute will execute, it will again execute the attribute callback change. So this is your whole hello name custom element. So basically, it's just 32 lines of code, but in our current now, we have React, Vue, and Angular. It's just a few lines of code, just 1 or 2 lines of code for that. So now, what if your Angular will be turns to web components? So that can be shared across the team, that can be shared or used to other frameworks or libraries. That's wow. So basically, it's just mind-blowing that you can convert your Angular to existing component to web components. So luckily, Angular team provides this API or library inside Angular that your existing Angular components package into custom elements and into web standard also. So this is how you sorry. on how you define it. So you have Angular elements, and then there's a function that exposed by Angular. So just create custom elements, just pass your existing Angular component, and then your injector, and then just custom that define hello element. So this is how we gonna do how it work with Angular elements. So first is you want to declare all the dependencies or what you need in the Angular elements. So next is you want to create a component. So like selector, template, and there's an encapsulation. So encapsulation shadow DOM is turns your Angular component to a shadow root. And then you have input. This input seems like the same with the properties and attributes in the web component. And then you have ng module. So in your ng module, you have browser module. You need to import it. So because you need to execute this in a browser, and then your declarations. Also in entry components, you need to declare it so that this component will dynamically render to other library or framework. You need to define it. And in your constructor, you have this create custom elements. You need to convert this as a wrapper, and then you need to declare it. And also an important thing, you need to bootstrap this custom element. And in your main, you need to platform browser bootstrap module. You need to bootstrap it. So next is I will do some demo for this. So just saying how to do this. Hello. Yep. By the way, I have a gist also that you can follow step by step also. So using Angular CLI for this. So I bootstrap my application using Angular CLI. And then I remove all the files in the app folder. So do I need to, okay, good. After that, I need to create Hello World component. Oops. Just bear with me. So I need to declare Angular core to be used to Angular component, and then create component, selector, and then hello world, or yeah, hello name, and template. H1, and then I have name. And then I have styles. I need to declare styles. So I have H1, and I have to color it to red. So I will use CSS variables. I will explain it later. What's the use of these CSS variables? So hello name, H1 color. And then I will have a default value for this, since if you're not using CSS variables, so I will make it as a red. And then export class. hello name. Component. Okay, and then we need input name and string, and then I will assign it to initial variable, which is hello world. And we have a component now. And then next is we need to declare it to our module. So imports. So we need to do, since we're using browser, and then we need to declare components. And since we're using it dynamically outside the Angular, we need to make clear it to use entry components. Okay, I think that's we good. Export class hello module. So we need to do wrap the component into custom elements. So we need a constructor, injector, injector. So I need to do IntelliSense in this. And then const hello name element. Create custom, oops, typo, custom element. Okay, I think import from Angular elements. And then I need to use create custom element and then copy. Do this and then component, hello component, and then injector. So the purpose of injector is if you want to use HTTP modules or some other dependency in your component, or something like a service. So custom, we need to convert, we need to define this custom elements. So define, and then hello name, and then hello element. So I think we're good. So, okay. So, and then this module, we need to bootstrap this. So I go to main. So I need to remove this. Import from up, and then hello world, and then hello module. So I need to do this. Okay, I think we're good. And then, so and then I need to use ng build. So if you heard ngx build plus, this will help us to build your Angular into web components. So it will add some polyfills to that. And then also there's a new features for that. If you need to support IE 11, so it will it will build this Angular elements to support IE 11. So when I try to execute ng build dash dash prod dash dash prod single bundle. So this will provide you two bundles. So first is ESM bundle. And then this ESM bundle will support the one that we saw earlier, that a type we need to import. You can use it, import in your script tag. So, and then also the ES5 value or bundle. so that if you're still supporting IE 11, it's still working. So by the way, I enabled the IV for this. So I've been using Angular 8 for this demo. So as you can see, the bundle is for ES 2015 is 132 KB. So it's more or less it's a bundle now. Before it's around 200 plus KB, so almost 100 KB is. And then also there's a script bundle. So this script bundles is some of the polyfills that you can use it. So now we already have a bundle. So we need to refresh it. So you can see in my list, I have this two bundles. So and yeah, so I need to use. You notice that I need to use zone for this because I was automatically using check detection. So you can option it in your component using detection check. So it will have this, and then so you notice that there's a no module here. So meaning it will use the ES5 if you still support it. So for example, if your browser has maybe IE11 and then doesn't support some of the new features of Angular, it will use this. So they call it the differential loading. So depends on your browser, it will load this. So we can see later. And now I can use local HTTP server, furnace, DB server, and then I will go to this. Okay, it's running 8081. So, okay, it's rendering our web components now. So no Angular needed. So we can inspect this Angular. So, oh, I see. I forgot to use the shadow DOM. So you notice that there's no shadow DOM here. So okay, let me check it again so that we can see that there's a shadow DOM. So I forgot to use encapsulation. Encapsulations. View encapsulation. Since the Angular element started in Angular 6, they use view encapsulation native. It will have a shadow DOM. I think, if I'm not mistaken, when Angular 7, they introduced, correct me if I'm wrong, and they introduced the view encapsulation shadow DOM. So it behaves the same if you use native. So since we'll use shadow DOM so that it will be descriptive. So I will try to oops, sorry. Bundle, just the bundle takes time because it needs to bundle some of the Angular dependencies. Oops. Okay. So okay, it automatically encapsulation. So after this, if we can see it, we can see now the shadow DOM. Okay. So after the bundle, I can show you how to, since I discussed a while ago, the shadow DOM cannot be bleed out your styles and events. It will not also bleed in. So if there's some styles that, for example, do you have the same class name, and then your class name has override this, your component will not be consistent. Okay. So that's why we're using CSS variables. So there's new things now in the standard. So we have CSS shadow part. So because CSS variables can only style using CSS properties, but CSS shadow part can style your classes and elements inside the shadow DOM. So since we're using done, so let's see. Oops. Okay, I'm not. So now we have the shadow root now. So you can see it shadow root. And then I want to make this style hello world as blue. So that's why I have this, what you call that? I have this CSS variables. So let me edit the index HTML. So I will go to here, style. And I want only, because you're using your CSS variable across your application. So I'm planning to to change the color only to that element. So I will make this to hello name. Then I was do hello name h1 to make it color blue. Oops, why is that? Oops, hello name color right. So yeah, color. So that's why. Hello name. Okay. So now it will change your color. So without this, you cannot change the color inside the shadow DOM because the shadow DOM protects your custom elements of any other styles for that. So also it can also have protects also your like DOM manipulations. Like for example, if I query document query selector, so I will not I cannot directly query all the DOM inside the shadow DOM. So okay, so next is can I use this in Vue.js? I think yes, you can use it. So let's try it using in Vue.js. So I have running Vue.js application here using Code Sandbox. So I use it, and then I will upload this three files, the two main file, and then one script file. So I will upload this. Okay, I have 2 minutes. So let me finish. So I will copy this one. Let me finish this. Okay. In the index, I need to add this scripts. And then in hello world, I need to remove this. Oops. So in here, I need to use it as hello name. And then I have name, and then I will bind it using this shorthand in Vue.js, and then message, and then So what's happened to this? Oops, it turns out my picture. So oops. So I didn't update. Oh, okay, I need to. So I have this. Okay. Just give me a minute for this. So why is not going to? Just give me a minute. Okay, I need to go there, dashboard. Yeah, this. So it turns out I'm not sure what happened for this. But but yeah, basically this will run your Angular components and in Vue.js. So I can show you later, or put in the slides the demo in the GitHub so that you can play around with this. I think that's all for my presentations, and then thank you for that.